Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassie Villela, and I'm a realtor, property manager, and investor here in San Antonio, Texas. And as we do every other week, I'm here to present the market update. So this is May 25th. COVID update is that everything's going well. People are getting vaccinated, cases are declining, everything is sort of getting back to normal. So that's fantastic. So our first graph is showings of the week. And now keep in mind that this is not all properties in the whole San Antonio market. This is the starter home category in the San Antonio market. So the starter home, what would make a good rent house, that's kind of what I chose to focus on because that's typically what investors are interested in. Now, one update that I did have to make to this chart. Last year, so the blue line, I used 100 to 200,000 as my search field. And that's because that was like a typical starter home investor rental property kind of thing. The red line though, I have made a change. I made a change starting in the first week of April. I noticed that because values have increased so much, which we're going to talk about later in the presentation, but properties values have gone up so much that limiting it to still 200,000 was actually not getting the same home that last year would have been on this chart. So what I did was I bumped everything up by 25,000 because that's about the rate of growth. So where the blue line is 100 to 200,000, the red line is 125 to 225. So it's not perfect, wouldn't really pass like a statistician's test, I'm sure, but it basically, it exists to tell us, what that home, if we're looking at one particular type of home, how many showings did it have last year as compared to this year? And I think this is the best way to do that. So that's the long explanation of the change year to year. And then obviously I didn't have to do that with rental showings because, rental, I've got all the rentals across the entire MLS here. So, but we're basically exactly on track with where we were last year. So home sales, we have significantly higher this year, but this graph, so it ends the first week of May. So we're comparing this to last April. And if you'll recall, last April, we were having a lot fewer closings because COVID, we had that month where nobody went anywhere. And so houses weren't going under contract. And so I wouldn't say that, this year there's so many more sales than last year. It's really last year was affected by COVID at this time. Here we can see the weekly median price, and you can see how quickly it's increasing, especially year over year, how big that gap is. And we're going to continue talking about that as we look at these numbers. So April single family home sales, again, we talked about how last year there weren't as many home sales in April as a result of COVID. So 27% increase sounds really dramatic, but really it's where we should have been last year, had not COVID happened. Prices though, this is significant. So I've put the average and the median. I like to rely more on the median because the average is easily skewed by luxury homes. So if we look at the median price though, a 15% increase year over year in the San Antonio market is bonkers. That would normally take 3 years or 4 years for something to go up that much in value. So that is definitely significant. And that is definitely contributing to, what we're seeing on the ground anecdotally of houses going under contract very quickly, having multiple offers, getting into bidding wars and such. I included the days on market this time just to kind of reiterate that point that the market's crazy. It's a seller's market. Houses are getting listed and are under contract right away. So you can see that the days on market are almost half of what they were last year. Multifamily sales, the inventory is so small that it's pretty much going to be the same year over year. And then as we look at the multifamily home prices, those also aren't really going to go up significantly because those are based on ROI. So those are more correlated with the rent prices than like how hot the market is. So rental prices have increased, single digits, so have multifamily prices. And then, so here's the rental prices. So like I said, rental prices have increased about 7%, and then the multifamily sales have increased 6%. So that kind of tracks, they're going to increase along with the rental increase. And I should note that so 1587 is the average rental price in San Antonio. That is not including apartments. So apartments are on an entirely separate database. I'm pulling this from the MLS database. So that's going to be rental houses, condos, townhomes, things like that, not necessarily apartments. So 1587 is probably a little bit higher than the true average rental if you also included apartments. But you could kind of say 1587 is the average rental house in San Antonio. And then I've cited my sources here on the screen. So this is from the SABR, the San Antonio Board of Realtors market statistics report that they put out on a monthly basis. And so this is what I pulled from Realtors Property Resource. This is just kind of showing you how much San Antonio has grown, and then some different areas within San Antonio. So again, we see that double-digit growth over the last year, and then over the last 2 years, 20% growth, which is just unprecedented. But then we go to somewhere like Live Oak, which is really booming, and that 30% increase over the past 2 years is just phenomenal. That is an area that is really common with flipping right now. There are a lot of older homes that have been flipped, and so that's really driving that increase in sales price. But it's also the fact that it's on the Northeast side, and a lot of people who can't afford to live in Austin are starting to look for housing on the Northeast side of San Antonio. So that's kind of, my anecdotal reason for why Live Oak and Converse here is also on the Northeast side, why these two municipalities are doing so phenomenal. And so Converse, of course, also just a dramatic increase over the last year. So all of that, just kind of continues to make this point that I feel like I just say over and over again every 2 weeks, that it's a seller's market. The supply is extremely low. Demand is very high. We have a lot of people moving in from out of state, and a lot of those people moving in have higher incomes. And if they've just sold a home in California, they're buying cash here in San Antonio. And what feels like a lot to us, anyone who's grown up here, feels like almost nothing to them because California prices are so high. So that's really creating this really hot market. I am a little bit concerned that San Antonians are actually going to get priced out of the market because the median income in San Antonio for a family of four is $72,000. So that, that's a concern. And I definitely am going to be looking at affordable housing options moving forward and trying to see how I can help San Antonians find the housing that they need. Anyway, so on my channel, I do real estate tips for investing or home maintenance, or just San Antonio advice or information. So if that's something you're into, then please click subscribe, leave a like on this video, share it, leave a comment if you have any anecdotes about the market here, or if you disagree with anything I said, or you have anything to add, definitely put it in the comments. I like to learn from you guys, and I will see you next time.